Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission here is pretty straightforward. You give us the sources, and we pull out the key knowledge,
Yeah,
basically getting you well-informed fast.
exactly. And today, well, we're going into some pretty dark territory.
Yeah, we are. We're tackling 4 really perplexing, unsolved serial murder cases. Killers who just vanished.
Mm-hmm. Left behind these chilling mysteries, we're looking at the Oakland County child killer, then there's Bible
The
John,
Butcher of Moss.
and the Doodler. Each one, I mean, they've got these uniquely disturbing elements, really stuck with investigators for decades.
Okay, so let's get into it. Starting in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Oakland County, mid-70s.
Yeah. And you got to picture these are affluent suburbs north of Detroit, seemingly safe, tree-lined streets, you know?
The classic American dream kind of setting. Kids playing outside, more freedom back then.
Exactly. Pre-internet, pre-cell phones, kids had a lot more unsupervised time.
Which, tragically, kind of created the perfect hunting ground.
It really did. That sense of security, it ironically opened the door. The first victim, Mark Steens, he was 12.
12.
Vanished February 76. Just left the American Legion Hall. His body was found 4 days later.
And the details are just awful, carefully arranged.
Yeah. Posed deliberately, strangled, sexually assaulted, signs of being bound, head trauma too. It screamed premeditation right from the start.
Utterly chilling. And it didn't stop there. Less than a year later, December 76.
Jill Robinson, also 12, vanished after apparently arguing with her mom. They found her bike first.
And then her body, alongside I-75. But this is where it gets really weird, right? The care aspect.
Right. Indications she'd been, well, cared for seems like the wrong word, but looked after while captive. She still had her backpack on, fully clothed.
That's such a disturbing contradiction. A killer showing care.
Well, it might not be care as we think of it. Could be about control, maybe some distorted power thing. These kinds of paradoxical behaviors, they're unfortunately not unheard of.
Okay. Then victim 3.
Christine Millick. She was only 10, disappeared January 77, just went to a 7-Eleven.
And she was held for how long?
19 days, a staggering amount of time.
19 days. God.
And then her body was found, again, carefully placed, near homes this time. Autopsy showed she was smothered shortly before placement.
So the killer wanted her found. It's like they needed that. That impact, that fear.
It speaks volumes about their psychology, yeah. That desire for recognition, maybe, amplifying the terror. Extreme premeditation again.
Just horrific.
Yeah.
And the last confirmed one, Timothy King.
11 years old, March 77. He disappeared going to a pharmacy. Body found in a shallow ditch. Sexually assaulted like Mark Steens.
But the detail that always gets me is the food.
Yeah. Kentucky Fried Chicken, his favorite meal. Fed to him shortly before he died.
It's just, what is that? Some twisted attempt at making amends. It's profoundly disturbing.
It really is. And when you look at all 4 cases together, these patterns emerge.
Right, the meticulousness.
Yeah.
Cleaning the victims, dressing them.
Finding them in public areas. That's where the Babysitter killer name came from.
And the physical evidence tying them together.
The golden carpet fibers. And white animal hair. Found on all of them. Consistent.
And those fibers, that hair, that led investigators down a really dark path, didn't it?
It did. Suggested a link possibly to a network. Wealthy individuals. Maybe child exploitation.
Which brings us to Christopher Bush, son of a GM executive.
Yep. Convicted pedophile, had known ties to a child exploitation ring on North Fox Island.
And the timing. Questioned by police right before Timothy King was taken. That's suspicious.
Very. Plus evidence linking him to another ring, Francis Sheldon's. It looked compelling.
But then he died, ruled a suicide, November 78.
But the scene, it had red flags, didn't it? Blood-stained ropes, a drawing that looked like Mark Steins.
Yeah, and then the task force gets disbanded right after.
Abruptly, yeah. Which, fueled theories. Was it staged to protect powerful people?
Sounds like a thriller plot, but it was real life. Then, the DNA twist years later.
Right, 2012. Testing excluded Bush, despite all that circumstantial evidence.
Wow. So even with strong suspicions.
DNA didn't match. It's a major turn. And there were other leads too, but they fizzled out.
Like Ted Lamborghini. Detroit auto worker, ran a pedo ring.
Implicated by another con, Richard Lawson. But Lamborghini refused a polygraph. Then Ark Sloan, a hair match, but not DNA.
James Gunnels, too. Also assaulted by Bush. Potential hair match on Christine Millick, but low probability.
Yeah, and he always denied involvement. So you see lots of threads, but nothing definitive.
And so at the end of the day, despite all the work, the forensics.
It remains unsolved. And Timothy King's dad, he passed away never knowing. It's tragic.
Leaves you wondering, was the killer just that good? Was someone protected? Or were there mistakes early on?
All deeply disturbing possibilities. It's a case that still haunts people.
Okay, let's shift gears. Across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Glasgow, Scotland, late 1960s.
Yeah, a different time, different place. Glasgow was changing, working class city, and the Borland Ballroom was the spot.
A popular dance hall.
Right.
And the setting for our next killer.
Exactly. The focus here was women who went to the Borland. First victim, Patricia Dahmer, 25 years old.
A nurse, a mother.
Went to the Borland, found the next morning. Strangled, partially clothed, belongings gone.
And she told her parents she was going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Majestic.
Right. Which was known for, like, over 25 nights? Maybe more anonymity. It's an interesting detail.
Okay, victim 2.
Jemima McDonald, single mom, 3 kids, by all accounts, really devoted to them.
Her murder, August 69, that had ripple effects, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely devastating. Her kids were separated, put in different care homes. A real secondary tragedy.
Just awful. And the third woman.
Helen Puttock just moved back to Glasgow with her husband, 2 young sons. This was a rare night out for her, October 69.
And the cruelty of it.
Yeah.
Killed near her own home.
Such cruel irony. And again, like the others, she was a mother out for a bit of independence at the Borland's over 25s night. Socially acceptable then.
And that other detail. The menstruation link. All 3 women.
Yeah, that specific biological detail, it's odd. Could be fetishistic, could be symbolic for the killer, maybe religious ideas about impurity. It's chilling.
So the suspect profile that emerged.
Very different from some stereotypes. Witnesses said he was really well-dressed, articulate, polite, charming even.
Made it easy to gain trust.
Exactly. Suggests calculation, premeditation, not just impulsive rage.
And this is where the name comes from, right? Bible John.
That's it. Helen Puttock's sister, Jean Langford, was in a taxi with Helen and the suspect just before the murder.
And she heard him talking.
Yeah, quoting scripture, calling the Borland a den of iniquity. Said he didn't drink, he prayed. That's what led to the Bible John moniker.
So a religious angle. Did that show up at the scenes?
Seems like it. There are these ritualistic elements, sanitary items deliberately placed near the bodies, maybe tied to those biblical ideas of impurity.
And the strangulation was consistent.
Yeah, the method seemed consistent, maybe an evolving signature.
But the investigation had a rocky start, focused on the wrong place initially.
Right. After Patricia Dahmer, they focused on the Majestic Ballroom, because that's where she said she was going. Might have lost crucial early evidence relating to the Borland.
Once they realized the Borland connection, though.
Huge manhunt. Groundbreaking for Scotland back then. First police photo fit widely distributed.
And undercover cops at the Borland, the Marine Formation dance team.
Ha! Yeah. Bit ironic. They tried blend in.
Jean Langford's testimony from the taxi.
Mm-hmm.
How important was that?
Incredibly important. Provided crucial details, but maybe too specific.
How so?
Well, the investigation might have narrowed too much based on her account, potentially overlooking other leads that didn't quite fit.
And the undercover operation didn't last.
No, it went on for months, but then got shut down. Complaints that attendance at the Borland plummeted. People were scared off.
Understandable. And years later, they exhumed someone. John McInnes.
Yeah, 1996. For DNA testing. But the results were inconclusive, caused a bit of a media backlash.
And there was that BBC podcast suggesting maybe he was protected. Family ties to police?
Allegations, yeah. But nothing proven. The name Bible John stuck, but the link to McInnes isn't conclusive.
What about Peter Tobin? Any connection?
He was looked at, definitely similarities to his later crimes, but ruled out he wasn't in Glasgow during the Bible John murders.
So another one. Vanished. Unsolved.
Strikingly so.
Yeah. Okay, let's move to Belgium now. Mons, mid-1990s.
Right. A different kind of horror here. Women vanishing, and then dismembered remains. Found in garbage bags.
Scattered across rivers, roads, even places with unsettling names.
Exactly. The precision of the cuts, the disposal sites. It pointed to someone methodical, deeply disturbed.
But the initial investigation struggled.
Yeah, a task force was set up, but reports suggest mismanagement, lack of resources plagued it early on.
Who was the first victim identified in this pattern?
Carolina Russo, 42. Vanished January 96 after visiting her son in prison. Her severed pelvis was found later in the Scheldt River in France. Marked the start of this grim pattern.
Dismemberment right from the beginning. Then Martine Bone.
43 years old, former sex worker. 6 months later, her torso was found in the Haine River, and the detail here, her breasts were deliberately removed.
Suggesting a sexual motive behind the mutilation itself?
Strongly hinting at it, yeah. And the precision of the cuts made investigators wonder. Medical training, experience with bodies.
The third victim, Jacqueline Lermite.
33, mother of 4. Disappeared December 96. Her arms and legs were found months later, which raised the question, where were the parts being kept? Stored somewhere.
Implies planning, access to facilities. Then Natalie Godart.
21 years old. March 97. Not involved in sex work, but described as promiscuous, struggling a bit. Her torso was found in the same river as Bones, the Haine River.
And the final known victim.
Bonnie Valencia, 37, had schizophrenia, vanished summer 97. Only her skull was ever recovered.
Just a skull. Suggests maybe a change in method or just decomposition.
Could be either, but the forensic analysis of the parts they did find was chilling.
How so?
The different states of preservation. Some parts seemed fresher than others, even from the same victim. It strongly suggested refrigeration storage for extended periods before disposal.
That level of planning.
Profoundly disturbing. And then the disposal sites themselves seemed deliberate, symbolic. The names?
Yeah. Rue de l'Abattoir, Slaughterhouse Street. Chemin de la Drève, Path of Worry. The Haine River translates to hate. The Troy River, jitters.
It's like he was leaving psychological clues. Taunting.
It certainly seems that way. A chilling psychological signature.
But despite all this brutality, the official response was lacking.
Reports suggest it was remarkably insufficient, yeah. They did form a specialized unit, Corpus. But the case was classified as local.
Which meant fewer resources.
Exactly. Not enough funding, staffing. The unit actually shrank over time, even while complaints about the investigation were looked into. Plus, lack of modern forensic techniques readily available then hampered things.
Did they ever get a strong suspect?
The most compelling was Mel Tola, arrested in Montenegro 2007.
Why him?
He'd committed a strikingly similar dismemberment murder in New York back in 1990. Victim named Mary Beth Tinning. He was known to be in Belgium during the Mons killings, had a romantic link to the NY victim, found bloodstains in his apartment.
Sounds promising. It did. But they couldn't find conclusive proof linking him directly to the Mons victims. And then he died in prison in 2012, so that avenue closed.
And any others?
A few weak leads, a French doctor accused by his son, a British guy, John Sweeney, convicted of dismemberments elsewhere later, but nothing solid connected them to Mons.
So the Butcher of Mons case really highlights
Yeah.
systemic problems.
Absolutely. Failures in law enforcement, the need for interagency cooperation, proper resource allocation. It became a case study, really. Influenced discussions on perpetrator psychology, institutional failures. Still unsolved.
Okay, final case. Let's go to San Francisco, 1974, 1975. The Doodler.
Yeah, and the hunting grounds here were iconic spots. Ocean Beach, Golden Gate Park, Lincoln Park. Foggy, atmospheric, and deadly.
And the killer's method was unique, wasn't it? The Doodler name.
He came from his approach. Apparently he was an artist. He'd sketch portraits of men in gay bars. Castro, Polk Gulch, the Tenderloin, Cinch Saloon, Cabaret Club were mentioned.
A non-threatening way to start a conversation.
Exactly. Gain trust. Lure them away. The first confirmed victim was Gerard Kavanaugh, 49, found at Ocean Beach, January 74. Multiple stab wounds.
Defensive wounds, too, so he fought back.
Yes. Indicated a struggle. This was the start of a pattern targeting the city's gay community. But initially, the police didn't connect the deaths.
It was probably delayed things. Victim 2.
Joseph Stevens, known as Jay, a performer, found near Spreckles Lake, stabbed multiple times. His car was abandoned nearby, suggesting he went willingly with the killer, likely for a sexual encounter.
Then Klaus Christmann, a visitor.
Yeah, German tourist. Found just days after Stevens, also at Ocean Beach. The violence here escalated. Really vicious slashes to the throat, almost decapitation.
Jesus. Escalating brutality. Then Frederick Capon.
A decorated Vietnam vet, found almost a year later, May 75, Ocean Beach again. 16 stab wounds, very precisely delivered. Evidence he'd been dragged. More methodical.
And the fifth one confirmed. Harold Goldberg.
66 years old, Swedish-American. Found June 75, Lincoln Park. Body was badly decomposed, likely dead about 2 weeks. Underwear removed, pants unzipped. Confirmed the sexual dimension.
So the pattern. Targets gay men. Uses art to approach. Lures them to secluded spots, often near water.
Known cruising spots, yeah. And then
Yeah.
extreme violence. Bodies stripped of ID sometimes to hinder connecting the cases.
But there were survivors.
Crucially, yes. 3 men survived attacks. Provided vital info. A European diplomat stabbed but got away. A well-known entertainer fled when the killer dropped his knife, and a third guy who just left town wouldn't cooperate.
Why wouldn't they testify? This seems key.
This is the absolute crux of why this case remains unsolved. The societal stigma, internalized homophobia was suspected in the killer, too.
How did the stigma affect the investigation?
Witnesses consistently described a young black man, 1925, about 6 feet tall, artistic but capable of this extreme violence. Police actually got incredibly close in late 75.
Oh, so.
A psychiatrist contacted them, said a patient confessed to the Ocean Beach murders.
Wow. Did they identify him?
The lead investigators, Arrah Guilford and Earl Sanders, known as the Soul Brothers, really meticulous guys. They had a prime suspect. He even admitted struggling with his identity.
But denied the murders.
Vehemently denied them. And without physical evidence and with the survivors unable or unwilling to testify publicly, it was a stalemate.
Explain why they couldn't testify. What were the risks?
You have to remember the time. 1970s. Homosexuality was just declassified as a mental illness. The stigma was immense. Being publicly outed could mean losing your job, your housing, your family, everything.
So the diplomat, the entertainer, their careers, their lives were on the line.
Absolutely. It was an impossible position. Even Harvey Milk acknowledged it, respected their decision given societal pressure. Plus, the relationship between the gay community and police wasn't great then. Raids on bars created distrust.
So even victims wouldn't always cooperate fully.
It made things incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Ultimately, societal homophobia created this barrier to justice.
This killer just got away with it because people were afraid to speak out.
Tragically, yes. The fear of being outed literally allowed a serial killer to escape justice.
It's a grim ending to a really disturbing case. And that brings us to the end of our 4 cases. Oakland County, Bible John, Butcher of Mons, the Doodler.
All remain unsolved. Haunting crimes. Despite all the advances in forensics, investigation techniques over the years, they endure.
Leaves you with this real sense of unease. The killer's identity's just obscured. Theories exist, of course, lone predators, conspiracies.
But justice was never fully realized for the victims, for their families. These cases are stark reminders of, well, the complexities of crime, investigation, and lasting impact of violence.
So we'll leave you with a final thought, maybe a bit unsettling. Could one of these elusive killers, after all this time, still be alive today, living among us, hidden in plain sight?
It's a chilling question to ponder.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.